Chapter 31, November 19th, 2017. Luggage was all ready. Surfboards and checked baggage, and a few necessities for carry-on. Head hung in shame over losing the car. Shit wasn't insured anyway, mine, or the grand prize. Who would want to pay the tens of thousands to ship it to San Diego anyway? When TCS becomes mine, I'll have the money to pay for a new car there. I checked my phone before boarding. No calls, or at least not any important ones. About 10 or so from Jason, but no reason to call him back. Didn't want to bother him at his tournament, or talk to him at all for that matter. I turned my phone off and boarded the plane. The 6.5-hour flight back to San Diego was as boring as ever. Same sappy hetero love story for our in-flight movie, and same disgusting junk food for our in-flight meal with a heaping helping of macadamia nuts. After landing and reclaiming my bags, surfboards included, I turned my phone back on. Another batch of missed calls from Jason and from BBU. I unlocked my phone. What did my boss want now? November 14th, 2017.
Riker, this is Laura at BBU. Please give me a call when you get a chance, thank you.
Deleted. November 15th, 2017.
Riker, this is Laura calling you again. I need to talk to you about your workplace performance standards. When you get a chance, please call me back at 619-555-2220. Thank you.
Deleted that one too. Only one left. Bitches got problems. November 17th, 2017.
Riker, this is Laura once again. This is your last chance to call me back. You've missed the last 3 days of work, and any more unapproved absences will result in your termination. Please call me when you get...
It was dark when I left the airport in a taxi. Finding a dude to carry all my shit back home was much harder than it needed to be. I called BBU, and no answer. She knew damn well I took the whole week off for the surfing competition, so why leave the toxic voicemails? Hell, she could fire me from BBU and I wouldn't care, since TCS made me much more than what that sap was paying. After I got home, I dropped off everything and took a bus ride to BBU. Laura usually worked late, even on weekends, and with her not answering, figured I'd go inside and talk to her in person. At least the buses ran on time. In front of a music store 3 doors down from the gym, a familiar face wearing headphones under his hoodie chatted with a few peeps. He looked up and stared at me. Couldn't think of his name, but must have been one of Jason's friends. He handed a booklet to another person in his group and pulled out his cell phone. I went inside BBU and dragged myself into Laura's office. Working late? I closed her door and took a seat in one of her chairs facing the desk. I tried calling back, dude, but you didn't answer. What's going on?
I won't mince words.
Laura swiveled her chair to face me.
We can't have people at this gym who refuse to value our code of ethics. Last month, we received multiple complaints over your poor performance as a personal trainer, and closing off our sauna for your personal agenda is completely unacceptable. I thank you for all that you've done, but because of your recent transgressions, perhaps a different position at a different company is more suitable for you.
But...
Hand over your ID card and keys. You're fired.
All the more reason to move on. I shrugged my shoulders.
That's the kind of attitude I'm talking about. You don't seem to care about anyone but yourself.
That's not...
Another word and I'll ban you from the gym.
I unhooked my BBU keys from my keyring and tossed them on Laura's desk, slipping my employee ID under them before leaving her office. At least I was still allowed to work out here, and I didn't need to be an employee to carry out my plans for Noel. I invited Kyle to my place to talk and try out some new protein shakes. As he watched some dumbass sitcom or celeb reality show on TV, I stayed in the kitchen to mix up a couple flavors. Raspberry pomegranate for him, and key lime for me. Hey, Kyle! I waved him over. Your shake's done. He took his shake and stood in front of the kitchen island.
How was your surfing competition?
Second place. Would have won, but some hotshot local dude knew all the curls. Guy looked more focused than Noel.
You'll get 'em next year.
Kyle clasped my shoulder. I brushed off his hand. Shit, didn't win the car either. Using the trolley to get here's not too bad, though. Kyle nodded. Hey, speaking of Noel, dude, I'm gonna need your help with something. He'd better not say no. After all the stuff I did to help him, like personal training, and helping him with his revenge scheme on Drake, and making him fresh protein shakes, he owed me at least twice, maybe more. Meet me at BBU on Monday and bring a couple of your friends. More hands the better.
What do you have planned?
Kyle wore that confused look he always had whenever I asked him to do something, whether it was to improve his squats or to add cardio to his workout routine. Noel and Jason are getting too close. Kyle scratched his head.
In what way?
Didn't want to spell things out, but in his case, I pretty much had to. A little in-out motion with the fingers to get his juices flowing.
You know, you're right. I went to that big tournament Jason wouldn't stop jabbering about. Noel was there too, and he and Jason made out in the bleachers until the cows came home.
What, dude? Could have never guessed Jace would score a goal with Noel in public.
He made out with everyone there, Gage, Cody. If they had pecs, he had hands to font.
Wait, stop. You're freaking me out. Come to think of it, I should have invited Jason to come with me to Hawaii. Then again, he would have said no, if only for his water polo gig. So, you know the plan, right? Kyle's teeth clenched.
You want me and my friends to kill Noel?
Whoa. Not kill him, dude. Just get him out of the way. Then Jason will have to be with me. Kyle didn't deserve to know the whole story. That'll lead to more questions, and a pawn who knows too much becomes the king. I'll be there too. Got some unfinished business. Kyle pounded his fists.
I'll be there. Monday night after Thanksgiving. I'll call a couple guys I know.
Cool. I handed $300 to Kyle to pay him for his services. He squinted at the offer.
That much? You make thousands from sponsorships and modeling, and you only want to pay me $300?
Well, it was his idea to sideline Drake, which helped me too. Sad what happened to the party boy, though. Okay, $500 then.
That's better.
Kyle took the money and left. Once Noel was gone, then I'd go in for the kill. Cody and the other water polo jocks would be busy in school, so Jason will have no one to protect him. They didn't need unfortunate accidents, and in Spikey's case, I'd rather not mess with him anyway.
Chapter 32, November 27th, 2017. A week had passed since Jason and I went to the water polo tournament. At BBU, I finished my pull workout in the fastest I had ever done it. All 5 exercises in under an hour. I felt proud of myself. The locker room sat emptier than I had usually seen it, no doubt to the late night. The lights were dimmer with at least one fluorescent tube flickering in each panel. I didn't think BBU would stoop to this shoddy job of maintenance. The months I had been here drove the gym to the point a membership wasn't worth it. Riker entered the locker room wearing a face unable to take any chances.
You there? Now!
He pointed towards the sauna door. I didn't want to go in the sauna tonight, but Riker insisted.
We need to talk in private.
Can't we do it out here? I shrugged my shoulders before stripping down. All I wanted was a nice warm shower to calm myself down and clean up before going home.
No.
Riker pushed me towards the wall.
When I say get in the sauna, then you get in there. No ifs, ands, or buts.
Motherfucker. I pushed him back. He almost lost balance, tipping over a metal changing bench. It wasn't enough to knock him down.
Oh, you're not going to cooperate, eh?
Riker pinned me to the wall.
Boys?
3 of Riker's friends, including Kyle, emerged from the hot tub area. They marched towards me, pounding their fists. Wait, 3 more guys? Oh, shit.
Throw him in!
Kyle held open the sauna door. The 2 lackeys pulled on each of my arms like taffy. I tried to fight back, but was outnumbered. The brutes threw me into the sauna with Riker entering afterward. Kyle closed the door, allowing Riker to lock it from inside.
Well, dude.
Riker pushed me onto the sauna's back bench.
Your frou-frou time with Jason's over. This can't be a 3-man business.
You're fucking crazy, and you got Kyle to join you in your little game?
This isn't a game, Noel. This is war, and I can't have you in the way.
Riker reached over to pick up the bucket of water sitting near the sauna door under the rocks. He threw it at me, burning my face. Motherfucker! I smothered my face in self-defense. The pain grew too great to speak again. The bastard unlatched the door, leaving his minions in here to finish me off. Such a coward. Riker didn't give a shit about TCS. He only wanted to take control of it for himself. He might have been eye candy for the body, but he was diabetes for the mind, and I wasn't biting anymore. Two meathead bodybuilders stood between myself and the fresh air, and I would also have to fight my way out of the gym. I pulled the first blow, striking one of the guys in the jaw. The other clinched my leg and pulled it, knocking me down. The fizzling water on the sauna floor did not provide a grounded surface. On the ground, my feet were my best weapon. With each guy on one side of me, I aimed straight for the balls. One down, the Hulk on my left keeled over, covering his jewels. My other foot missed, but with one guy out of the way, it was enough to dodge. I got back up. My new goal was the door. I sprang for it before the standing brute could catch me. It was too late. Repeating the same tactic, he grabbed my legs, forcing me to sprawl on my stomach. The pain from the steam was too great to keep fighting. I couldn't let him and his friend win. Any friend of Riker was now an enemy of mine. My body lay in excruciating pain on the sauna floor.
Heh, have a nice nap.
The dumb jock and his now recovered friend left me in the sauna to shrivel up. With them gone, I mustered some strength, enough to stand back up. I limped over to the locker room mirror. My face was completely red, but there were no blisters. The rest of me carried the same pigmentation. First-degree burns weren't too bad to deal with. The locker room had showers, and for once, a cold shower would feel nice.
Dude, are you okay?
An older gentleman brushing his teeth noticed my burnt body. Ugh, I couldn't speak. Every second in the locker room was more painful than the last. Shh.
You need to cool off, man.
Captain Obvious dropped his toothbrush in the sink and ran over to the showers. He turned on the second shower nozzle just enough to get the water to flow. Like a zombie, I made my way over to it, using anything and any wall I could get my hands on as a crutch. The cold shower water stung my skin. A few seconds later, the pain subsided, and the water gave me enough energy to speak normally again. "Thanks, kind stranger," I shouted, hoping he could hear me from the sinks. There was no response. My legs still trembled. The pain inside still burned within them. Short of a wheelchair, there was no discernible way for me to walk all the way to the stairs, walk down the stairs, and get to my car. I spent over 20 minutes soothing my skin in the shower before turning it off. My skin still felt toasty after I stepped out of the showers. Getting dressed, the fabric of my clothes, especially my shirt, agitated my shoulders. I slung my duffel bag over my neck and walked out of the gym at a reduced pace. My car was still in the lot, despite being well past the allotted paid parking time. No spare cops tonight. Before the police could give me a parking ticket, I went inside my car and drove off. I gave Jason a call as soon as I got back home. It went to voicemail. Figures, given the time of night. "We need to talk. Call me back. Bye." Tonight's ordeal replayed in my mind. As I tossed and turned in my cold flannel-sheeted bed, each instance grew more intense. From the attack in the sauna to the recovery in the gym's showers. Like most coworkers, we tolerated each other, but never got along. Riker's actions last night crossed the line. We could never work together again. Hell, if I saw that blonde, water-brained surfer again, I'd smack him silly until the riptide came home. Why did Jason value him so much? I wanted answers, and I wanted them now. Jason didn't call me back until the next morning. We met at his apartment on a humid morning. The sun failed to penetrate the foggy overcast with its warm light. The air was wet enough to be muggy, but just shy of actual rainfall. There was no sign of Riker inside.
"Hey, why don't you sit down?"
He asked. I remained standing next to the door. I needed an easy escape if necessary. "I'm fine."
"So, what's up?"
Jason took a seat on his couch. "We need to talk about Riker." I explained everything he did to me last night.
"Come to think of it, you don't look that good."
It took him that long to notice the burns on my face.
"You're saying Riker did this?"
I reiterated my story, including the things Kyle did. Not that it mattered to Jason. He didn't know the peon personally. No matter how I explained the situation, there was an inkling in my mind that Jason didn't comprehend what I was saying. His judgment was clouded with blonde fog.
"Riker would never hurt anyone,"
he said.
"We've been dating for over 4 months and he has never laid a hand on me. Are you sure you didn't just get a sunburn on the beach yesterday?"
Was he fucking serious? Jason wasn't the smartest twig on the tree of humanity, but anyone with half a brain cell could figure out the story wasn't my fault. Noel good, Riker bad. It couldn't have been clearer than the difference between night and day. I was ready to leave right now, forever. but I figured I'd give Jason one last chance. You clearly don't know Riker like I thought you did. Remember the tournament and why I left? That guy Kyle was one of Riker's friends, and he seemed way too eager to do his dirty work. Jason drew a blank stare. Nothing I was saying, even when spelled out, went to him. I gripped the doorknob, ready to turn it. Put two and two together, Jace. Who do you think crashed into Drake? Who do you think lied about being in Fresno? If there's any sense of intelligence in that brain of yours, you'd know what's up.
I'm sorry.
Jason hung his head.
I just can't see Reich doing any of those.
Then you leave me no choice. I opened the front door. Consider your contract with me nulled. Goodbye. If he could not listen to reason, then he could not be in my life anymore. I had already proven my point, and with graduation in a month, there was no further reason to be involved with Jason's farce of a modeling agency. The door slammed on its own as I walked out of Jason's apartment towards my car. He brought it on himself. He and Riker could live miserably ever after. There was one last order of business to close this miserable chapter in my life. I drove to BBU one last time. The stuffed clouds burst open to a heavy rain during the journey. As I walked up the soaked steps to the gym, people freaked out over the rare rainstorms scurried under any awnings they could see. The lucky ones with umbrellas passed through like it were sunny, but the water poured into 8 distinct but fractured waterfalls surrounding them. I approached the counter. There was no sign of Riker in the gym, or any of his buddies. A woman in her 20s ran the reception desk. Hey, I'd like to cancel my membership and file a complaint against one of your employees.
Who does the complaint concern, and can I get your name too, please?
My name is Noel Geiger, and I'm complaining about one of your personal trainers, Riker Kuzinek.
Who? Riker? We let him go last week after he stopped showing up.
Strange. Him of all people would have set up a tent in the weight area if they could.
We had another person complain about him too, but you can still fill out this suggestion form.
The receptionist pointed to a pad of suggestion cards sitting on the desk. I ripped the top one out and filled in every check mark. Most were poor. The lighting needed to be fixed, the beyond repair weight machines needed to be replaced, and of course, the sauna had to be cleaned. None of the improvements mattered to me since I was quitting and never coming back to this place. But the future was more important. If anyone were to visit the gym in 5 years, I wanted my voice to be heard, and it would have been nice for someone to understand their customers' comments, unlike a certain modeling agency. Once I finished the form, I turned it in and left. With BBU and TCS finally out of my life, only one other goal remained, the goal of graduation with a Master of Science in Mechanical Engineering. Hanamura and Watanabe would no longer have control over my life either after I took their finals and passed their classes.
Chapter 33, December 4th, 2017. I felt dead. Why did Noel have to quit? Seems like I lost everybody. Drake was suffering in the hospital, Cody kept himself busy studying for finals, and Tyler still wanted the last $15,000. Couldn't tell with Dustin or Gage, though. Those two guys could be anywhere, not that they cared about me much. Without anyone, how was I going to pay my cousin back? I wanted to crawl into a hole and die. Tyler was supposed to be here by now, but he never came. I had eaten Thanksgiving dinner alone, and even a Cornish game hen was too much food. Black shadows consumed me over the last few days. Rivers of tears washed my apartment floors from days gone past. Perhaps I should die. That bridge on Genesee was as good a place as any. Construction for the trolley above, and a freeway below. Death waited for me either way. No one wanted me, and all my friends were gone. All I could do was cry some more. No matter how many times I called Riker for answers, he never picked up. Eventually, he blocked my number. Something wasn't right. Did Noel seriously have a point? I thought of calling him back, but from what happened last week, he'd block me too. Christmas was coming, and I had no friends, no future, and no life. After my supposed last meal of mint chocolate pastries, I began the long journey to the cosmos. Didn't want to go through the school directly, as I didn't want to bring attention to myself. Sky or Riker's friend Kyle could jeer at me, or even throw rocks, and if I was to give it all up, I wanted to do it my way. As I withered away walking past Revelle and Muir colleges, memories from being with Tribal flooded into my head. My first photo shoot with Noel, our hot tub session in Vegas, the party at Marquee, and even our sudden massage sessions. Cherished memories that simply were and could never be again. Once I joined the cosmos, then the lights within could let me relive those memories, and there was no sooner time than now to do it. About an hour or two later, I reached the Genesee Avenue Bridge on the northeast corner of UCSD. As expected, armies of cars and big rigs zoomed underneath, ready to transfer my purple light to the energy within the world. The scaffolding on the bridge looked a little too tall to climb over, though. And for a Monday, there was no one in the construction site to lift me up if they wanted to.
Don't do it.
A passing motorist honked his horn while going 25 miles per hour to turn south onto the 5. What did he know? He didn't have my suffering. He didn't lose his best friend last week or the closest person to that.
Don't jump.
Another driver screamed as she went east on Genesee.
You have so much to live for.
I stared at the 5 for a long time. Every so often, another driver or two would honk their horn or convince me not to kill myself. Perhaps it wasn't time, and I needed some more of that before I committed to a decision I could never take back. Tears welled in my eyes on the way home. My body was heavy. If I went past Canyon View, I would fall into the pool and drown, for water polo season was over, and no one wanted to swim there in the winter. When I returned home, I lay in my bed and stared at the dark ceiling. I was stiff. No warmth in the world was enough to move me. I heard my phone go off, but it wasn't worth answering. Whoever called left a voicemail. It wasn't important. Nothing was. Unless they gave me $1 million or a bullet in the head, it wasn't worth my time. My phone went off again. Another voicemail. Who in their mind wanted to call a pathetic loser of a photographer? No one cared, no one listened, and no one wanted me to live. The caller was insistent as my phone rang a third time. Thinking it was Tyler, the only person I gave a tenth of a shit about right now, I rolled out of bed. Without checking my voicemail, I answered it. It was Gage.
Listen, buddy.
He said, his words drilling into my eardrums.
I saw your photos from the tournament. What the hell happened?
My eyes watered. I don't want to talk about it.
But I do. Your pictures are crap.
I already knew that, but knowing Gage, he wasn't going to shut up.
Why did I hire you in the first place? There's something wrong with you and your mental state, and I can't work with someone who thinks the cage is a more important subject than the player shooting at it.
Well,
No excuses. You're done. I will never hire you again for another season, and rest assured I'll tell my successor captain to recommend a permanent suspension of your talents.
the thoughts returned as I rolled back into bed. Perhaps I would die in my sleep. It would be pleasant. I would die and take TCS with me. Riker would have nothing. Without me, he'd be nothing. My phone still in hand, I deleted both voicemails from Gage. He was a stuck-up snob anyway. Never liked the guy. He could burn in a pool of red acid for all I cared. I dropped my phone on the floor, too drained to continue. It was dawn when I woke up again. I heard a knock on the door. I meandered through my pigsty of an apartment to answer the door. It was Tyler. Hey, cuz. He showed himself inside and sat down on my couch.
Sorry about Thanksgiving, but I had some last-minute clients for a private party.
He stared right into my face.
Jace, you don't look so good.
It's Noel. He left me last month. I wanted to cry. Despite my best efforts at bawling out, not a single tear could pass.
Hey.
He gestured towards himself.
Come sit right next to me and put your head on my lap.
I did as he instructed. I couldn't see his face through his massive pecs. It was a welcome sight, despite him being my first cousin. I closed my eyes and began to spill out my problems. It felt therapeutic in a way, but given Tyler, I doubted it would amount to much.
Hey, where's your camera, your best one?
I slid off of my cousin's lap and retrieved the camera I used for the tournament, and the last shoot I had with Noel. I handed it to Tyler and sat back down in the same position as before. He held the camera over my face.
So the emo kid's grown a bit. It's a shame the fudge pumper had to leave.
I guess two people are harder to control than one.
Jason, enough about control.
Tyler set the camera down.
Models are people too. They're not fucking objects. I'm a go-go dancer, so I'm in a similar line of work, and do the fans care? Hell no, they don't. They see me twerk, and if I'm lucky, they stuff $5 in my thong and call it a day. You've worked with Noel and that Riker fellow for 6 months now, and you still treat them like sex slaves? No wonder Noel left.
I stood myself back up. Stop it, Tyler. You're rambling again. Also, they weren't slaves.
I don't care if you paid either one $1 million an hour. They still answered to you, which means you're fucking responsible for them.
How am I responsible for their problems? If that was the case, I would have to do Noel's engineering homework and train 20 clients at the gym a day, and that's on top of my shitty photography.
Your photos aren't shit.
Tyler picked up the camera and showed me the pictures I took of Noel.
These pictures are perfect. You said yourself that a sex tease sells.
So what should I do?
You've got one model left, right?
I still had Riker, no matter how odd he was acting lately.
I suggest you work twice as hard and exploit the shit out of him. If not, you can always hire another guy.
I didn't want a new guy, I wanted Noel back. I guess I could.
Feeling better?
I nodded.
Good, now let's go Christmas shopping. Your place needs a tree.
Tyler and I went outside and into his cobalt blue sports car. He drove me around San Diego, allowing me to witness being a passenger for the first time in a while. He parked on the 4th level of the newly built parking structure west of UTC, or University Town Center as it used to be called. I rolled out of his car and took my time to reach the elevator.
Come on, Jace, that Christmas tree ain't going to buy itself.
Why bother? There's no Christmas trees for sale at a mall. Even with UTC being a mostly open-air shopping mall, no store on the property had enough space or passion to stock Christmas trees, even the small fake ones that could be placed on a coffee table.
Stop being a downer and let's go.
Tyler pressed the button to go down to street level. We rode the elevator to the ground floor and made our way through the parking structure. Once outside in the cool December clouded sky, the familiar sight of a fountain with clusters of metallic dolphins spread in a random pattern greeted my cousin and me, with its spacious presence docked between 2 rows of designer clothing stores, and who knew what else. A second identical fountain lay behind the first one.
I always liked these fountains.
Tyler said as we approached the first fountain.
When I was a kid, my mom took me out here. I'd stare at the dolphins, and they'd greet me with their aquatic song. The perfect escape from my dad, if you called your uncle that.
I slogged away from the fountain, shrugging my cousin off.
Jason, are you even listening?
I turned around. Tyler threw a penny into the clear turquoise water like a baseball pitcher, nicking one of the dolphin statues in the middle.
Didn't mean to do that.
I sighed. Tyler pushed me onto the fountain's edge, forcing me to sit alongside the pool.
Jason, you're not going to get better moping.
Noel was my only thought. If only him and Riker got along, then TCS would have been twice as famous. Drake was still in rehab. Gage and the rest of the team abandoned my photos and me. Other than Tyler, Riker was the only friend I had left, and I was dating him.
Jason, you there?
Tyler swished his hand over my eyes. I snapped out of my trance and leaned back, almost falling into the water. Can we just move on? Tyler and I strolled further into the outdoor mall, underneath tan awnings decorated with red and gold strands of fake garland, and beside palm trees choked by gaudy Christmas lights. We took another rest at a group of white bistro tables in front of a makeshift stage plopped next to the largest fake Christmas tree, adorned with white ornaments and Christmas lights I had ever seen. I knew it was fake as it had 2 doors leading inside to Santa's San Diego vacation home. As a kid, I wondered why he wanted to live inside a tree when he wasn't at the North Pole, let alone in San Diego of all places. A double act of a female singer and a male guitar player with no resemblance to Dustin performed on stage. We took our seats and listened to the guitarist's solo instrumental ditty. The song ended in 3 minutes.
Hey, thanks for coming out here. We appreciate it.
The singer said.
Before we play our last song today, I want to give a little shout out to our wonderful audience. How you all doing?
The few other spectators clapped politely. One gave an obnoxious whistle. The guitar player strummed nonsensical noise through his instrument as the singer addressed the audience again.
Thank you. You know, there's 2 things you can control about your life, especially here at Christmas time. You can be safe and you can be happy. Stay happy, can you all agree with that?
The crowd nodded their heads and gave light cheers. Even with their positive energy, I could not overcome my thoughts on losing Noel.
Come on, Jason.
Tyler said.
Join the fun.
Whatever. The 2-man band started their last song. The guitarist tapped on the stage with his foot on every even beat, as he strummed quarter note chords, 3 at a time. The singer chick matched the guitar player's tapping with a cluster of sleigh bells she held with one hand. 3 bars in, both performers began singing in unison.
Dash through the snow, an open sleigh.
They couldn't even get the words right. Everyone knew the lyrics, and the song made no sense as the powdery white stuff was more likely to show up in Florida than here.
Over the hills, laugh all the way.
Even Tyler wouldn't laugh if he slid down Carmel Mountain going 60 miles an hour. But there he was, tapping his leg to the song's awkward beat.
Bells, bobtails ring, make spirits bright.
More and more of the audience caught on, but I still wasn't hooked. A group of kids one table over mumbled the missing lyrics to themselves, trying to make sense of the pop act's reason for excluding them. The song felt catchier as it went. I didn't blame the kids.
What fun it is to laugh and sing that slang song today, now everybody.
The whole crowd joined the double act for the chorus. I had to sing along with them.
Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse sleigh. Hey.
Everyone sang louder the second time. For a moment, albeit a brief one, I had my mind off TCS and Noel. Tyler and I listened to the rest of the song. After the polite cheering and clapping ended, my cousin squirted some water from his bottle in my face. "Stop that!" I giggled.
Glad you're better, kid. Now you gonna kick ass and take more pictures of Riker than ever?
Yeah, I'll call him tomorrow. It'll be the best Christmas photo shoot TCS has ever done. Seeing Riker in my mind decked in gay apparel with a Santa hat beefed up my Yule log. His bod'd sell double photos online as my Christmas present from TCS to the gay world. Tyler and I left UTC's Central Plaza towards the other side of the mall. 3 planters with local yet exotic flowers thrived in the artificial environment. We took a rest at the central planter.
One more thing before we buy that tree.
Tyler said.
That 10,000 or so you owed me, forget about it. You've learned your lesson.
Any signs of depression died as I heard Tyler speak. Wow, thanks, man. It was probably a setup, but to be fair, he set a goal for me, and I had every intention to meet it. Maybe I'll give it to you as a Christmas present.
That's the spirit. Now let's get that tree.
Tyler and I found a small Christmas tree store inside the mall selling fake trees. Only one tree caught my eye, one pre-strung with purple LED lights that flashed every few seconds. Tyler bought it for me, and we returned home. After setting it up, my apartment felt more festive than it had been since moving here 2 years ago. Now it was time for this Christmas to be the merriest one yet. Chapter 34, December 11th, 2017. Tyler went back to Vegas yesterday. Before I could call Riker, I heard the doorbell ring. Sky, of all people, stood in front of my doorstep. I leaned back before he could speak, ready to close the door. How did he know where I lived?
"The captain sent me,"
he said in his usual gruff tone.
"Drake's being released today."
Really? Why would Gage care about me? He fired me because I couldn't meet his expectations.
"Yeah, I'll take you."
I followed Sky to the street. His single-seated motorcycle was parallel parked in between 2 sedans, a rather small vehicle for a larger-built man, let alone 2 people. Everything on the bike was silver, except for the black cushion.
"Well, kid, here's my ride, the Silver Hog. 0 to 60 in less than 3 seconds.
I nodded. Sky got on first, nudging himself towards the front end of the seat.
"Get on, hold on to me, and don't get any ideas."
I clasped onto Sky's stomach as he started the motorcycle. Hey, why are you being nice all of a sudden?
"You know, Guy, I'm sorry."
Sky said as we started heading towards the hospital.
"I'm sorry for being such an asshole to you. Drake, Dustin, even that snot-nosed freshman Cody all said you were a nice guy, but that convo we had in the hospital made me realize that. Sorry for the whole man-child shit, and for how I treated you all year. We cool?"
Yeah, man, I've changed a lot, too.
Huh, we all have.
Sky pulled into Thornton's parking lot. Both of us got off the motorcycle and went inside the main entrance. I waited alone in the lobby as Sky processed Drake's release forms. Half an hour later, a nurse wheeled Drake into the lobby. He was in a wheelchair with a little less muscle mass.
"Hospital already told admin?"
Sky said to Drake.
"You're in a different dorm now, and Dusty's your new roommate. He's all in concert up in Seattle, but he'll be back tonight. Whole team pitched in and moved your stuff while you were here."
Drake coughed. He looked too weak to speak. With just Sky's motorcycle, we had no way to transport him to his new dorm room. Sky made a few calls. An hour later, 2 team members arrived with a van. They loaded Drake in the back seat.
"You two take him there.
Sky handed one of them a note with the room assignment.
I'll join up after I talk with Photo Guy. Jason, we're going to Price.
Both of us went outside and rode to the Price Center. The place hadn't changed a bit since my first meeting with Drake back in May. We took our seats at a typical table on the first floor while facing each other.
Look, Guy, Dusty didn't want us talking at the hospital about this, but we got some leads.
The gearhead plopped a stack of reports on the table. They looked like copies of police findings.
Dusty went on the cop's website, looked up the accident report, and what do you know? The car was registered under your model.
I looked over the police report. It was minimal, but it gave the information I was looking for. Riker's name stood out in bold lettering. That guy was so fired, or at least he would be if I didn't need him to come up with the last 10,000, or perhaps Cody would be done with finals, and I could take pictures of him instead, then fire Riker. Either way, he was done. Then next year, I'd hire 2 more guys. I'll kill him, I said, and Kyle.
You and what army, numbnuts? I'm not killing anyone, and you're on your own for your model, but I have a plan to get that brute expelled.
How?
You know our stupid captain, right? The guy who has what should have been my job? His family's got more power and wealth than anyone in this building. If Kyle beats the shit out of him, then he's a goner. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. That numbskull will be history.
So how would that affect us?
You're about the captain's size, right? Get yourself a muscle suit, some bleach, and some spray tan or dark brown body paint for me.
I nodded. Wasn't sure what he had in mind, but I let him continue.
We're going to act out a fight. You be Gage, and I'll be Kyle, and I'll beat the ever-loving shit out of you. Of course, it'll be pretend, and I'll try not to hurt you too much.
What about the real Gage? What if he finds out?
The kids will just give him flowers or not give a rat's ass. It'd be positive pub for him. Just go to the store today, get the stuff, including your camera, and we'll meet up here tonight.
All right, I stood up. I'll get us some stuff. Time to make that fucker pay. Sky nodded, and both of us left Price together. He gave me a ride back to the apartment and drove to his place. It wasn't my time to walk straight in. While daylight was still out, I drove around La Jolla looking for the stuff Sky wanted. If I was to be Gage, I'd also have to get my hair bleached. For $50, I was able to get the job done. The pain and suffering of my pores persisted well after the hairdresser applied the bleach to my scalp. With a new blonde hairdo and a whole bottle of hair gel, I was as fit as a captain. Listen, buddy, I said to myself in the car driving to the next shop. No, it was too high. Listen, buddy, I said in a lower tone. I could make a good Gage. Gillespie, you're off the team. Score 1 for Gilardi. I had to stop any more Gage-isms, and I would be him for reals. With a small tub of brown body paint and a muscle suit my size, I arrived at the Price Center in time to meet Sky. His head was mostly shaven, but with a dark brown, almost black resemblance of a buzz cut left. We went into the bathroom and closed the handicapped stall. He brought in a couple changes of clothes, a set of red BBU gym clothes for him, and a UCSD water polo team shirt for me. I changed into my outfit and spiked my hair with the gel as he stripped down to his briefs.
Jason.
He pointed to the tub of body paint.
You know what to do. From what Cody's told me, you should know how to use that shit.
I dabbed the paintbrush included with the body paint set into the tub. I started with Sky's torso and worked out. He did not flinch a muscle as I stroked his pecs and abs with the paintbrush. The whole thing was therapeutic. Had Noel stayed, it would have been a great Christmas shoot idea to paint him green and red and stick reindeer antlers on his ears. Sky and I got to know each other better while I painted all over his body. An hour later, he was ready. We waited 15 more minutes for the paint to dry. Sky put on the BBU clothes, and both of us walked outside into the Price Center's courtyard where Dustin was waiting. There were no other students nearby.
Hey, Captain Gilardi.
He said.
Nice blonde hair.
Thanks, Dustin. Now we're kind of matching. I handed Dustin my camera equipment and he set it up. For someone who knew little about photography, he did a decent job taking test pictures. Sky and I got into position. His makeup looked intimidating, exactly the way I wanted it to be. His nostrils flared as he crouched, ready to tackle me down. I stood relaxed, phone out, ready to send a text to my team. I kept one eye on Sky. He rushed at me like a linebacker. When he made contact, I tumbled onto the concrete. The flash from my camera blinded me. A few dabs of Sky's body paint smeared on my new shirt. No point in doing a second take. I just had to pray Dustin pulled off the picture. The tanned but lighter flesh on Sky's abs prevented him from doing a second round as well. Dustin handed me the camera, and the picture turned out okay, although a little blurry. Perhaps that would be at an advantage. Only Gage's mother could tell it was me in there. I went back into the Price Center restroom to change into my normal clothes. When I returned, Sky had already left, and Dustin sat on a step leading upstairs.
Hey, send me that pic, okay? I'll make sure every student sees it.
I wasn't sure how, nor did I care, but I agreed and drove home. Once there, I edited the picture the best I could before sending it to Dustin. Only time would tell if he was able to pull it off.
Chapter 35, December 12th, 2017. Everything worked too well. After getting the spare to quit and Jason to lose all his friends, I had to lay low for a while. Kyle did everything he could, but now it was my turn. Locking myself up in the condo drove me stir-crazy. I was able to do push-ups, crunches, and all the stuff without weights at home, but my strength faded away the longer I went without them. Looks stayed the same. I was as ripped as ever. Being without a car sucked, but if I wanted to, I could get around Gaslamp with some old-fashioned foot or bus power. Scratch that. Still needed Kyle for one last thing. I called him, and he drove me to his dorm room. The empty bed next to him had seen better days with 2-month-old stains all over the mattress. Drake and his boyfriend were way busier than I imagined. I climbed up and lay in Drake's old bed, turning my head to face Kyle. Hey, roomie, how's finals going, dude?
GEs are so hard.
He took notes from what looked like a history book.
Why do I even have to know this shit?
Could be useful one day. To be fair, I had to agree with Kyle. Most of the stuff they taught was garbage, but he needed the lip service.
Did you hear Drake got released yesterday? He's wheelchair-bound now, and the school threw him in another dorm.
So his water polo days are over, huh? Hey, by the way, dude, thanks for helping me get rid of Noel.
Just stop it.
Kyle slammed his pencil on the desk.
I already got what I wanted, and I helped you get what you wanted. We're even, okay?
No, we're not, dude. I haven't gotten everything yet. You got your little revenge scheme on Drake, but I still don't have a modeling agency. But hey, as soon as I convince Jace to sign TCS over to me, I'll make you my first model. And then Spencer would be crying home to mommy over how I'd have a bigger business than him.
I'm not interested.
Kyle got out of his chair.
You see this dumbbell? It'll be in your face in 5 seconds if you don't stop talking about your goddamn agency.
Suit yourself then. I climbed down the ladder to be on the same level as Kyle. My eyes noticed a phone on Drake's old desk. It must have belonged to one of the movers. The touch screen was unlocked. Without Kyle noticing, I searched the contents on the phone. The background was a picture of the whole UCSD water polo team. Mostly familiar faces like Drake's. Maybe the messages would help me find out about Jason. I hadn't called him since Cody got hired, and maybe he had moved on, but he needed to be in a spot where I could control him. Most of the text messages were pointless to me. Practice times, water polo announcements, useless shit. Part of me wished it was Drake's phone, but most of the messages were to him. I didn't have the golden fleece, but I could settle for silver. Using the captain's phone, I sent out a mass text for everyone on the team, Drake included, to meet up at Canyon View on Monday.
Why are you still here?
Kyle pointed to the door.
I've got studying to do.
I slipped the phone in my pocket and walked out to the dorm's living room. Before I could leave through the main door, I heard a loud knock, followed by 2 older UC staff guys wearing black polo shirts barging in. They almost looked like undercover cops.
Kyle Gillespie?
One of them said in a stern voice. He's in the back, dudes. I slipped past them and walked off. Leaving the dorm, I turned around to see the 2 guys carry Kyle out of there and into their golf cart. That was the last I saw of him. As I walked off campus, I overheard groups of students talking about some sort of fight that happened last night. Only a single picture of the whole bout was taken, but it was enough for the whole student body to talk about. No one was willing to show me the picture, stranger danger and all, but from what I got, Kyle attacked Gage at the student union last night. The cops found out, and they booted him off campus. Now I was all alone. There was a bus stop near Jason's place, but it was too risky to use, but I didn't know of any others near the school. I walked down to it and waited on the sidewalk. The next bus was late, 20 minutes late. I got on and checked the headlines. The picture showed the two of them, clear as day, socking it out, but there was something off about it. Zooming in, Kyle's muscles were bigger than that. I trained the guy at least once a week, and he only got larger every workout. Those traps were either shopped or someone was framing him. I scrolled over to the right to look at Gage. My memory of the team captain was a little fuzzy, but those biceps looked too fake to be on a guy that size. Panning onto the head, the blonde hair looked off, like there were brown roots, and every blonde guy I met down here had blue eyes, not green. The pic was fake. It was hard to tell, but Gage's doppelganger had a familiar face, almost youthful. Besides Kyle, only one person had green eyes that I knew about, and that was Jason. The Kyle actor's eyes were hard to tell, but they looked like they lacked color. Must have been a new friend or someone else on the water polo team. That text I sent worked out better than expected, and with Gage's phone, it was to be the spot for me to take what was rightfully mine.
Chapter 36, December 18th, 2017. Cody and I met at the apartment after he took his last final for the quarter. The weather was unusually warm for December, so we went out to the pool, shirts off, and relaxed in the recliners.
Hey, I heard Kyle got expelled.
Cody said.
What happened with him?
I decided to tell Cody the truth, but only because he was in TCS. He gave me a smile after I finished.
So justice finally prevailed. Have you seen Drake lately?
Not since he was released. There was no easy way for me to see him. Sky never told me his new room assignment, other than he was bunking with Dustin, and I was too scared to call him about it. There was little in common between us anymore, and Sky had told me everything. Drake was off the team for medical, and one other person was kicked off for failing a drug test, so whoever Gage picked as the new captain would have to fill 2 extra slots. Not that water polo politics concerned me.
Oh, that's too bad. By the way, Gage texted last night he wants us at Canyon View tonight for some reason. Feels kind of odd since the season's over, but it could be one last meetup before we go into spring practice next year.
Well, have fun with that, man.
Aren't you going to go? Gage made you an honorary team member, right?
He fired me. How could I show my face at Canyon View again? Gage had all the power at that place, and going back there would kill my chances of restoring TCS to its prime. He'd kick Cody off the team, and then Cody would quit Tribal. Then I'd have no one to pose for pictures.
No, he didn't.
Cody showed me the text message.
He said for you to go too.
I held on to Cody's phone. Working with Gage for 5 or so months let me get used to his writing style. It seemed legit, though only he would use water polo balls in the place of O's. I made a mental note of what time he wanted us to meet before handing the phone back to Cody.
Since we're here,
Cody said as he put his phone away.
Want to do a photo shoot?
Might as well. Looking over Cody's torso, he had grown tremendously in the 2 months I knew him. While he was already a looker compared to the rest of his team save Gage, his muscles had become defined to Riker levels. Even though he was straight, I couldn't help but to be turned on. Every vein was in place, every crease toned. I positioned Cody on the pool's edge. The water was too cold to jump in. I stroked my hand over his chest to feel the power inside of him. Even Riker's pecs looked smaller in comparison, but I did not feel anything down below my waist. Feeling his body told mine that he was straight, and that I had no chance to be with him.
You like him, sir?
Cody bounced both of his pecs.
Last few months I trained over and over. Had to catch up to the others.
I patted each chest muscle. You look amazing, man. He was clearly not a boy anymore. Even his voice was deeper than the first time I met him. Once I got into my position, I pulled out my camera and took a couple test shots. The whole process was second nature to me by now. Cody went through a few poses by the pool, some standing, and some lying on the concrete pool deck. A couple hours later, we were finished. We walked together to my apartment. He stayed a while and watched TV while I edited what would probably be my last photo shoot before Christmas, and the last opportunity to make money to pay back Tyler. He had already called off the debt, but responsibility paid off in the long run.
Hey, you watch Mr. Ball?
Cody said.
Oh, I love that show.
I was too focused on my work to say anything back.
They say that you're never too old for cartoons.
That's nice. I uploaded the last of Cody's pictures. Look, it's getting pretty late and...
Oh, I'm so sorry, sir.
Cody got off the couch.
Hey, gotta be serious for a bit. With finals over, I don't have a place to stay for the winter, and I don't have enough money to go home to Vegas for Christmas. You mind if I crash here for a week or so?
Yeah, I don't mind. You got your stuff in your car?
Yeah, some of it. I'll head out and bring it in.
Cody walked out the door and I followed, helping him move in some of his stuff. All he had were a few blankets and a week's worth of clothes. Once he was settled, we spent the rest of the evening hanging out in the living room until nightfall. At sunset, Cody and I were the first to arrive at Canyon View. The gates to the West Pool were locked.
That's funny.
Cody said.
Gage is always here first. Place is usually unlocked if we have practice.
Maybe he's running late. I checked the time on my phone again. Gage was 15 minutes late, unusual for a guy who worshipped time almost as much as water polo. We waited another 15 minutes before deciding to leave. As Cody and I walked back to the car, a man with a familiar scent approached us while wearing a dark green hoodie.
So you two dudes were the only ones who showed up.
The hooded man revealed himself. It was Riker. Riker, what are you doing here? I stepped back, latching myself onto Cody for support.
Finishing what I started, or what you started. I saw through your little ruse. Thanks to you, an innocent man just got expelled from UCSD.
Kyle wasn't innocent, and Riker knew that. Everyone here did. You're as guilty as him.
Am I?
Riker glanced at Cody.
Hey, Freshie, why don't you call your captain and ask him where he is?
Cody let go of me and pulled out his phone. He called Gage just as Riker asked. A few seconds later, I heard a surfing ringtone coming from Riker's pocket.
Exactly, dude. Bitch left his phone at Drake's place. He's probably got a new number by now and forgot to tell you two himbos.
How could he?
Cody marched towards Riker. The former model pushed him to the ground before he could get close.
The kid's grown a bit. You feeding him right, Jace?
Don't you dare push him. I helped Cody back up. What's happened to you, man?
Yeah, what's going on?
Cody and I swapped positions. He went behind me, wrapping his arms around my body for protection.
Where's the Riker who inspired me to be a model? Where were you for the last 2 months? Why would you leave us after I started here, after I joined because of you, because of my dream?
Dude, you don't understand. This wasn't about you. Wasn't even about Noel. But here you are, protecting the person more powerful than you.
What?
Cody squeezed me tighter. This wasn't the kind of protection I was looking for.
Jace.
Riker took off the hoodie, throwing it on the grass.
Cody may have bigger pecs than yours, but he's your worker, meaning you have power over him. Power that people like me deserve. Dude, I can't be overshadowed by him. His surf shop, his brothel of chicks every night. That's shit I'll never have because you're the one with the keys.
What the hell was this? Did Riker want TCS that badly? All for a family dispute? He could never have it. Tribal was my idea. It was my work. Riker smacked me in the face. His slap released Cody's grip on me.
Get a clue, Jason. It may have been your idea, but answer these. Who did all that mingling at Marquee while his boss cowered in the corner? Who got you real fans when your online sales weren't enough to pay us a living wage? And who here was the guy who brought Cody into this whole game, just so you could have a failsafe on the water polo team just in case some accident happened?
I took a knee on the grass, hanging my head in shame. You did.
Sir, what are you saying?
Cody helped me back up.
Exactly, dude.
Riker said, ignoring Cody's comment.
I built this agency, and now I'm going to take what's mine after I swat that orange-shirted gnat behind you.
What's your problem with Cody? I rushed in front of him before Riker could attack. He never did anything to you.
Eye for an eye, dude.
Riker kicked me in the balls. I squealed as I cupped them and toppled back onto the grass. Cody scowled at Riker. Riker began his assault on my model with a second kick. Cody dodged to the right. Another kick, another dodge to the left. Cody didn't strike back. Zero tolerance. If he attacked Riker here, he'd have the same fate as Kyle. Riker looked too interested in fighting Cody than looking at me. Kicks became punches, weak-looking ones. I pulled out my phone and started recording. 2 minutes of footage, then Riker turned his head. Game over. Before I could spring off the ground, he impaled my stomach with his foot. Almost missed the cell phone. I rolled over. Riker kicked me again in the back, cracking my spine.
You fucker.
Cody latched onto Riker's arm and yanked him away from me. He lunged at his balls, knocking Riker onto the grass, before Cody could help me back up. A police car with flashing strobe lights came down Voight Drive and slammed its brakes in front of us. 2 officers stepped out of the vehicle and walked up to Cody.
San Diego Police.
One officer showed his badge. Whoever called 911 brought in the big boys instead of campus security. The other policeman helped Riker and me up.
We got an anonymous tip regarding an altercation here.
Riker glanced at me. I didn't throw him under the bus. The second cop separated Riker from me, while the first one kept Cody away.
You there in the purple shirt.
The second cop said,
You're coming with me.
Why was I being arrested? Riker was the one who started everything, and they were letting him get away. What about Cody? Were the cops going to arrest him too? As the policeman cuffed my hands behind my back, a second police car arrived. Another cop with handcuffs arrested Riker. He spat on the ground as she tried to take control of his arms. No amount of kicking could keep her away. Within 15 seconds, both of us were cuffed, seated back to back. For once, Riker's skin felt cold, though it might have been his shirt. With both of us controlled by the authorities, the first cop arrested Cody.
You and you.
The second cop pointed to Riker and me.
In there.
He pointed to the front car. The first cop threw me in the back seat on the driver's side, Riker on the passenger side. Hands still cuffed, I tried to turn my head without bumping into my new enemy, however powerless he was to stop me. The third cop had control over Cody as she took him to the back seat of her car. Why would the cops keep Riker and me together? What would happen next? I had never been in the back of a police car before, and the black cage separating the front seat from the back scared me more than being forced to sit next to a guy who tried to ruin everything I wanted. It was hell. The cop got into the driver's seat.
You two stay quiet back there.
He drove us away from Canyon View and towards the county jail downtown. Riker and I didn't say a word to each other, not even a flinch in body movements. When we arrived at the jail, the cops separated us, pulling me into intake to be photographed, booked, and tossed into a holding cell all alone. They at least had the courtesy to uncuff me before doing all of that. For the first time in my life, there was no one. No Tyler, Cody, or even Drake to save me from the concrete walls that could have been my home for the next 20 or so years. With no one else around to talk to, all I could do was think. Was my life over for something I didn't start? What about Cody's? At least one concrete wall separated us, but from the jail's layout, he could be anywhere. Banging on the freezing walls wouldn't give me anything other than a sore fist. Only a metal toilet bowl with piss stains kept me company. Maybe I should use it. As I unzipped my fly, the chilly air shriveled my balls. Yellow pee steamed out of me as I did my business. Anything to keep my mind off being in jail. If it didn't come from me, then I'd soak my hands in the toilet to warm them up. Then again, it was better than the bed. 2 hours later, a burly female cop banged on my cell, startling me. She opened the door and cuffed my hands back together.
Jason Gilardi?
Walking down the hall, I could see the other inmates sizing me up, or in my case, down. There were no signs of Riker or Cody. She escorted me to a white interrogation room at the end of the cell block. Uncuffing my hands once again, she and one other cop sat across from me at a long card table. The other cop spoke first.
We're here to ask you a few questions regarding tonight's altercation at the Canyon View Aquatic Center at UCSD. We understand that you were in a violent conflict with 2 people, Riker Kuzanek and Cody Byerly. Is that correct?
I nodded.
Tell us a little about Riker first, will you? How do you know him?
I cleared my throat. He worked for me as a model, and for a while we were dating. The male cop nodded and gestured me to continue. I had no idea why he did what he did, but as far as I'm concerned, we're through. When Cody and I went to Canyon View tonight, he just attacked us out of nowhere.
Listen, Mr. Gilardi.
The big female cop slammed the table, almost breaking it.
No one attacks people for no reason.
Mr. Kuzanek must have a motive.
The male cop interrupted.
Did you piss him off? Rub him the wrong way? Anything to coerce his anger?
It's not like that. I gave both cops more details about my relationship with Riker, and explained everything I remembered about tonight. The police took notes as I spoke, seemingly covering every word I said.
Now about Mr. Byerly.
The male cop set his notepad on the table.
What about him?
As with Riker, I answered the police's questions about Cody, telling the whole truth to the best I could. Is he okay? The interrogation room shook, lights swaying from what sounded like a fistfight upstairs, followed by ghastly nasal crying. If the guards were smart, or if they valued my life over their own, they'd keep me down here. Disturbed for only that moment, the female cop resumed the questioning.
Never mind him and worry about yourself. Based on your story, it sounds like you ran a modeling agency, hired Mr. Kuzanek, a guy with a few hairs loose, and he wanted to take over your business for his own personal gain. Because of that, he attacked you at UCSD. Is everything I said correct?
Yes, ma'am. The crying from upstairs continued, disturbing my thought process. For a big guy, Riker was a bigger baby. The more nasal the bawling, the more I knew it was him. Bitch got what he deserved. So, what happens now?
After we finish questioning Mr. Byerly,
The male cop said.
and if his version of events matches yours, then we will consider your release. For tonight, you will be escorted back to your cell. Mr. Kuzanek will be further questioned in the morning.
So you're gonna let me go? My eyes beamed with excitement.
Mr. Gilardi, you don't understand. Officer Anderson will escort you back to your cell.
The man handed a set of handcuffs to his colleague. Officer Anderson re-cuffed me and escorted me out of the interrogation room. She didn't say a word as I followed her into an unfamiliar, stale hallway. After scanning her badge to open a stairwell door, I waddled up the stairs. No returning to the holding cell I was in earlier. It was time to face the big boys and possibly where Riker was being held. As Anderson walked me down the jail hallway, the crowded cells filled with brutes in desperate need of energy healing jeered at me. Some clenching their fists, others poking fun at my size or how skinny I was. If I was lucky, I'd get my own cell for one night, then release me tomorrow. If not, would I rather use my one call a day to have Tyler bail me out? No, gotta get through this myself.
You're here, left side.
Officer Anderson pushed me into a cell 2/3 of the way down the hall, then slammed the door shut.
Everywhere else is full.
2 beds lined the back wall with a dark slotted window, and metal toilet in between like the one in my first cell. An orange jumpsuit lay on each bed, one smaller than the other. I changed into it quickly to avoid more trouble from the guards. With no one else to talk to, I laid myself on the cold concrete bed and closed my eyes.
You can't put him in there.
The guards' banter kept me awake, with no discernible way to visualize any of them. An old, gruff voice controlled the conversation.
He's a violent offender.
Where are you going to put the crybaby then?
Said a younger voice.
Never seen a wuss beat someone up before.
You want a reason? His victim's in that cell.
I opened my eyes. No way they'd make me share a room with Riker.
For one night, then it doesn't matter. Everywhere else is taken anyway.
All others trips?
Yes, sir. I'll volunteer to personally watch them.
Make sure there are no other altercations. Otherwise, it's your ass on the line.
Yes, sir. I'll bring him in.
The jail cell door creaked open. A brutish guard shoved Riker into my cell like Riker would push me. I curled into a ball on my bed in a desperate attempt to channel my own spiritual energy. Every step he took made me shiver more. After staring at his ratty face, my body calmed down. My suspicions were right. Each of his eyes shed a tear, and underneath that muscle-bound, tough surfer guy shell of his was a lost soul as vulnerable as mine. In a way, I almost pitied him, but after today, Riker was a lost cause. Riker took a seat on his bed and huffed a few breaths.
Guess we're cellmates, dude.
That's his first line? The first sentence he can come up with after getting the 2 of us and Cody arrested? What was he asking for? Forgiveness. Not while I'm still on this earth will he get it. I had nothing more to say to him. Riker changed into his jumpsuit and looked himself over. Nothing from his ripped body bulged through.
Guess I look like everyone else here, dude. Hey, Jace, they always make these things way too big, you think? Guess you're not in a talkative mood. But you know, all this shit we did? Try and remember it, okay? Your first time, our trip to Pismo. Marquis, All of it. Something we can never do again.
Something he could never do again, assuming I can get out tomorrow. If it weren't for the young guard watching us like a hawk, I'd give Riker a hug. I could never forgive him, but inside, he needed one. He needed a real friend. Perhaps prison could help him there.
Lights out.
The burly guard who threw Riker in my cell clanged on the metal bars while patrolling the hallway.
Everyone asleep.
One flick of the wrist later, the lights were off. Riker's eyes locked onto mine as we faced each other in bed. The look on his face seemed genuine, like he truly felt sorry for what he did. If I were to grow up, I couldn't fall into his trap, as much as I knew everything about him, from shoe size to his brand of toothpaste. Even remembered the width and height of each of his abdominal muscles. It was time to let go. After tonight, I needed to find a way out, rebuild TCS, and pay Tyler the rest of the money.
Chapter 37, December 19th, 2017. Hanamura was finished. Watanabe too. I didn't have to walk, nor didn't have to sit in an auditorium for 4 hours for a pointless speech about bettering myself. Quitting TCS made me realize that. I was done with him, and I was done with state too. The only question was what to do now. The job market for engineers got better since the economy crash in 2008, but getting a job wasn't as easy as applying for one. From the money I earned at TCS, I had enough to make it through the holidays before entering the rat race of corporate engineering life. If there was one thing Jason showed me, it was that there were plenty of guys to date if you knew where to look. Taking a bus to Hillcrest was the easy part. Talking to a guy was harder. A bar on 5th Street looked appealing, so it was as good a place to start as any. Going there in the morning was no sign of class, but the place would be quieter. I walked in and took a seat on a bar stool. The TV was on, mostly showing local news and weather. Nothing too interesting for the time being.
Hey, you look familiar.
The bartender said.
Were you in some sort of...
Tribal culture, right? Hey, just get me a glass of water. No lemon.
Are you sure you don't want anything to drink?
No, I'm good. Hey, turn the TV up. The bartender filled up a pitcher of water and placed it in front of me, along with a smaller glass with ice. He turned up the volume so I can hear it.
You're Noel Geiger, aren't you?
Yeah. Before you ask, I quit TCS. Since no one else was here, it was acceptable for me to say that out loud. The general public didn't need to know my personal life or the reasons why, though anyone with half a brain cell would know the reason with a capital R.
Retiring?
You could say that. I looked up at the TV. A news report coming from UCSD caught my eye. A middle-aged woman gave the headline.
Last night, around 7 p.m., reports coming from the Canyon View Aquatic Center concerning a fistfight after a group of 3 men, ages 18 to 22, reportedly brawled on the south side of the building. All 3 suspects have been arrested and held by police for further questioning. We now go to our field reporter who will give us more information.
The camera cut to a younger-looking man with a well-groomed flat top.
I'm here at the Canyon View Aquatic Center, and I have one of the suspects with me. He agreed to an interview after spending last night in police custody. Now, Mr. Byerly, what can you tell us about what happened here last night?
The news camera panned over to Cody. He looked like he was beaten up on the face, similar to the way Riker attacked me last month. I couldn't understand everything he said from his murmuring voice, but I got the gist. After he was done, I stepped outside and made a phone call. Jace, pick up. The phone went to voicemail. Hey, we need to talk. Call me back as soon as you can, okay? Also tell Cody I said hi and I hope he feels better. I stayed at the bar for a few more hours, observing the strangers entering and leaving. Jason needed to call me back, or I would be out of his life for good. With Riker gone, I felt safer around him, and we could start over with our relationship, and I wouldn't have to deal with the engineering rat race at all. Around noon, I got a call. It was Jason.
What's going on, Noel?
Hey, I want to come back.
You do? That would be awesome, man.
Jason's voice had never sounded happier.
Want to come to my place when I get there? I'm still at the police station, but they're letting me go. Cody got out earlier today.
I know. Saw him on TV. Why don't I pick you up from the jail and we'll take it from there?
Sure.
I hung up. With Riker gone, TCS could finally be what it was meant to be. I didn't realize it at first, nor did I want to, but Jason's intent became clear to me. Because Cody was straight, he wasn't competition, and competition wasn't what Jason was looking for. We could be together, have some nice sex, and spend Christmas in Vegas. Honestly, I wanted to go back there. There was unfinished business with Tyler that I needed to settle, and if he was like the only guardian that Jason had, I would need to be on his good side. I left the bar and drove downtown to the police station. As promised, Jason was there, but I almost didn't recognize him with his bleached hair. I parallel parked next to a meter fast enough for Jason to enter the passenger door, then drove off before the cops could notice. No hug was needed, perhaps a mental one, but we would have plenty of time for that in Vegas.
Hold on.
Jason said as I drove onto the freeway.
Cody's calling.
I tuned him out as I drove to his apartment. He pointed towards the Pacific Highway exit leading to the airport. He hung up and faced me.
Cody's leaving tomorrow, flying home to Vegas.
He lives there too?
Yeah, man.
Why don't we take him to the airport? Jason nodded. I drove to Jason's apartment and noticed an orange sedan parked next to where Jason's car was. Cody greeted us at the parking lot as we stepped out.
Wow.
He said.
You made it out, huh, Jace?
So did you, Codester.
Jason pulled Cody into himself and gave a tremendous hug. TCS is back, guys. I joined in, wrapping my arms around both of them. We held onto that hug for a while. It was needed after removing that bad seed from our clique. Let's head inside. Jason led the way. After entering the apartment, I took a seat on the couch, and for the first time since meeting him, his cartoons weren't on TV. Whatever came over him to put it on a prison documentary? Nevertheless, he had grown and was no longer a man-child. Him and Cody spent a couple of hours chatting while I played on my phone. It was my last opportunity to see Cody before Christmas.
Hey, Jace.
He said.
Did you know Gage is going pro?
Heh, figures, man.
He's moving to Austria after the first of the year, so I won't be able to say goodbye. I know you're not on good terms with him, but if you see Dustin, he can tell him I said good luck.
Yeah, sure.
Jason smiled. Before they could say another word about water polo, I reached for the door. Hey, you got another photo shoot for us before the big holiday? Jason shrugged. He didn't seem interested. Well, I'll see you two tomorrow. When's Cody's flight?
8:30 a.m.
Cody said. I winked at both of them, then walked out the door. TCS was finally able to become a studio filled with harmony instead of entropy. Riker's actions may have helped the studio grow, and credit had to be given where it was due. But selfish actions defile the best intentions. Without him, it would have been just Jason and me, and even though I had the looks, Riker had the mindset. Without him, Jason would have never earned enough money to make this business thrive, and I would have quit long ago. That was all in the past, and Jason had learned his lesson, even if it almost got him killed. We needed to grow, and even though Riker had been arrested, we had enough of a fan base to recover. Cody was ever so enthusiastic to help in any way, despite being straight. Perhaps he was the exception and not the rule, and the first straight guy I had met who wasn't a heteronormative asshole football jock stereotype. Him entering our studio's ranks might have been the only selfless thing Riker did, and God help us that Cody stays loyal. I knocked on the door to Jason's apartment at 3 a.m. Before he could answer, a stranger wearing a black hoodie tapped me on the shoulder.
Come to see him off too?
Yeah. Before the man could respond, Jason opened the door. His eyelids sagged down to his cheeks. After greeting Dustin and me, Jason led us inside. He prepared both of us coffee while Cody finished getting ready. Once he stepped out of the bathroom, we drove off to the airport. Jason and I rode in the front, Dustin and Cody in the back. I mostly ignored the jocks.
Hey, Noel?
Jason said.
Ty's booked us a hotel room in Vegas for 2 nights.
Where at?
Silver Station, man. We'll be there Christmas Eve.
Really? That piece of dump? That irrevocably irredeemable hellhole where this shit all began? And Tyler had the balls to throw us in that concrete pigsty again? Forget it. I'd strangle Jason for saying that remark, but it wasn't his fault, and perhaps I was overreacting. I shrugged and let him keep driving.
You don't seem interested. Hey, Tyler talked to the management and we'll be guaranteed a deluxe room this time.
Whatever. I unlocked my cell phone and played on virtual pinball until we got to the airport, drowning out everything in the back seat. When we arrived, 3 hours before Cody's flight, all 4 of us exited the car and helped Cody with his luggage.
See you next year, Captain.
Cody said as he entered the airport.
You too.
Dustin gave Cody a polite wave.
Jason, a moment?
Dustin pulled Jason aside, leaving me to shiver next to the car. 5 minutes later, they returned.
Hey, Noel, check this out.
He rushed towards me, giving me an unwarranted hug.
Dustin's the new team captain, and he's giving me my job back. Whoopee, I couldn't be any happier.
Wow, cool. Dustin approached both of us.
Hey, maybe you can take pictures of the chicks in the spring, and my band will be playing at Sun God next year.
Dustin handed Jason an orange piece of paper.
That's the lineup, and keep that page for a backstage pass.
Sure, Dustin.
Jason said.
I won't let you down.
My shivering was too much. I needed more coffee. I gestured at the car, signaling the two of them to get back in before I became a pink popsicle. They obliged, and Jason drove us back to his apartment.
Chapter 38. December 25th, 2017. Noel slept still on the king-sized bed on his back, wearing nothing but his hot pink Speedo and no drapes covering his body. I laid my arm across his massive chest to feel both pecs at the same time. He had grown a lot in his core since I first met him back in April. That made him look hotter to me, and now he was mine for sure. As I swept down his sculpted abs, Noel opened his eyes.
Morning, Jason.
I let go of him. I'm surprised you didn't kill me last night. Noel burst into laughter.
Oh, you remembered that. But honestly, if I kept my promise, I would have thrown you out of the car in Prim.
You're funny.
Hey, in all honesty, you've matured a lot in 8 months. Look at yourself, Jason. You're everything a guy like me is looking for. You're a successful businessman and a sweet sports photographer too. Don't listen to that stuffed shirt, Gage.
I placed my head on his shoulder and closed my eyes, yet remained awake. He was boring anyway. Water polo isn't life, you know, and Dustin will be a way cooler captain.
I know.
Noel nudged me to get off of him. He rose from the bed and got dressed.
Hey, get up, lazybones. We've got a lot of sinning to do.
I rolled out of bed. After a long shower, we went downstairs to the casino. Out of curiosity, I zoned each row of slot machines to find the one with Riker's smug visage adorning the top. It was gone.
He didn't deserve one.
Noel said. I shrugged. Riker, he had the world, and he threw it away. I almost envied him, but I couldn't forgive myself for the pain and suffering I went through for a guy I only hired for his body, let alone 3. Then again, it wasn't worth a life to overcome a shadow of a younger sibling. In some respects, I was no different than Spencer, the very person Riker envied the most. He had KZK, and I had TCS. Other than selling surfboards and photographs, there was everything else in common. I just started my business 3 years later. From what I knew, KZK was still around, but Riker's likeness was removed from all of their surfing gear. Noel shook my head, frizzling my hair.
Come on, Jason, snap out of it and let's have some fun.
The day in Vegas started as a fizzle, but grew into a bang of cosmic proportions. We wined, dined, and gambled, ordering mimosa after mimosa well before noon. I spent little time on the casino floor. The smoke still bothered me. Other than that, it was the perfect day at the Silver Station, and the Christmas decorations livened up the casino, which hadn't otherwise changed much since our last visit. Noel and I visited a niche restaurant tucked away from the action as the sun went down. The staff seated us next to a giant glass window with an unimpressive view of the parking lot. I could imagine it being the Strip. The waiter took our orders. No ice cream for me this time. I waited for him to leave before talking to Noel. Riker's trial's in 3 days, I said. What do you think's gonna happen?
I don't know, man. I doubt he'd get death. He didn't actually kill anyone.
Well, he deserved it. Life for a life?
Listen, buddy.
Did you just turn into Gage? Noel laughed.
No, Jason. Whatever the judge decides, we'll go with. It's best if you forget about Riker.
You know you're right. After we finished our dinner, we went back to the hotel room. The deluxe suites on the higher floors were much better than the standard room we had in April. The hot tub was its own mini bathroom, and the proper bath was large enough to fit 3 comfortably. Before I could strip down to enjoy the hot tub, I heard a knock on the door. It was Tyler.
Hey, Merry Christmas, Jace.
He stepped inside and made himself at home.
Hope you and Noel are enjoying your present. This shit wasn't cheap, you know?
Well, here's yours. I took out my checkbook and wrote Tyler a final payment of $10,000, the last of the profits from Riker's time at TCS.
You didn't have to do this.
Tyler handed the check back to me. Come on, Ty. You wanted me to be responsible, remember? So here you are. I set the check on the counter, expecting Tyler to pick it up. Both of us stared at it, but neither of us flinched. 15 seconds later, Tyler caved.
Just take it.
He ripped the check.
Your happiness is enough, and it was about time you were fucking happy after all that shit you went through.
A little news went a long way, though I had never told Tyler I had been arrested, but surely someone did. How did you know?
I have my ways. Let's just say some guy in an orange shirt and a bowl cut went into freestyle a couple days ago asking for a lap dance from me. The fucker tried touching, but I wouldn't let him have it. He was booted out and probably crying home to his mama, but he said he knew you.
That was my friend, Cody. For a straight guy, going to a gay bar perplexed me, the only reason being to avoid the strip's high male cover charges. Then again, even girls went to gay bars, and Tyler would always tell me stories about how he had to dance for them, too.
Well,
Tyler started walking towards the door.
I don't want to be a third wheel. You two lovebirds enjoy your Christmas.
He walked out of the hotel room, leaving Noel and me alone to enjoy the evening. Both of us stripped down to our birthday suits before turning on the hot tub's water. This spa was much nicer than the first one, with solid gold-laced faucets and enough jets to massage the entire body 3 times over. Noel stared right at me, and I at him. He had outgrown his fear of hot tubs.
Come on, Jace, let's get in.
He entered the tub first. I followed and sat next to him. Nothing but silence and dimmed fake candlelight surrounded us. We could finally be together, and I could finally be free to explore all of him. As much as I'd love to go into detail on our intimate time in the hot tub, YouTube guidelines won't allow it. The channel's already received a warning but not a strike regarding our thumbnails, and none of us want a repeat of that. There's a little more to the scene after this moment, so I'll pick up the narrative there. We exited the hot tub together, dried off, and went back into the bedroom.
That was awesome.
Noel said. I smiled back at him before unfolding the comforter on the bed. You were great, man.
Don't worry about it. Let's just get some sleep. Did you have fun?
Yeah, thanks for coming. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, Jason.
Noel joined me on the bed. Once again in contact, we sunk into the mattress and enjoyed each other's bodies for a few more moments before resting our eyes. Perhaps I was wrong in that a tease sold better. Sex sold way more than a simple tease, and now both of us knew that. It sold us an unbreakable relationship that would last us for years to come. Even after Noel's muscular looks would fade away from the grip of aging, our hearts and our souls would remain ripped energy beings for life.